Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus here again. I got some information that I'd like to share with you, and I hope you can receive it. This is some serious information. It has to do with the crux of life where you're concerned. It has to do with living or not living where you're concerned. And I'm going to use some parallels, hopefully, that can make this easy for you to understand. Many of you have pets, dogs and cats, and maybe some other things. But they crave your love and affection just as much as human beings do. Some of you can recognize that, but most of you don't. You see them just as old dog or your cat or your cat. You'll feed them and shove them out of the way, but as far as that love and affection that you would love to receive from others, that they love to receive from you, they never get it. Why? Because you don't understand that. Many of you might have mice or rats in your house, and you can't stand them. You know how they just carry disease and stuff like this, dropping their little balls everywhere they go, and you don't want to see it in there. And the only thing you can think about is some traps or some poison or something just to get them out of the way. Now they're there for a certain reason. What? Survival. And you have accommodated them, and that's why they're there. If you don't accommodate them, they will leave and go someplace else. And so because the two things are not working together, you put your poison out, you kill them, they go up in the loft somewhere and start smelling when you got company, and you at least don't want that happening. But this is the reality of life. And I just thought I'd share that with you because it might bring you to a point of some kind of compassion. Now, let me tell you something else that I think would be very difficult for you to understand, but I'm going to give you an example so you can. If you are in America right now, I want you to think for a moment and start speaking Chinese. Now, I realize that some of you have learned Chinese language and you can speak it. But for those of you who haven't, start speaking it. And for those of you who can speak Chinese, start speaking Russian. Well, it's legitimate that if you have not learned of these various languages, you cannot speak it. But the language that you have learned, you can speak. What am I saying? I'm saying that all of us have been born in slavery. We don't know it. We weren't told that. Blacks were told, but they were told they were liberated. They told they were set free. But they weren't set free from slavery. They were just set free from slavery from one group to another group. And in that transaction, all people are slaves. Well, they were actually slaves before that, but they were legally changed into slavery. But you don't know that. You have been taught something very different. Very, very, very different. But you are, in fact, a slave. And what are you a slave to? You are a slave to what has been referred to as the enlightened one, Lucifer. They got Lucifer on TV now, trying to make you see Lucifer as being good. So you can start saying, oh, Lucifer isn't that bad. I see him on TV all the time. Well, Lucifer is Satan. Now, when I say Lucifer on TV is Satan, I'm not talking about that guy. He's just an actor. I'm talking about the power behind what's happening in the world today. Is in control of this earth. When I say world, I'm talking about this earth. Now, was that the intent? No, this earth was made to be heaven on earth. Paradise on earth. But in order for that to happen, there are certain principles that you have to adhere to. You'd have to adhere to the plan of peace and prosperity and joy and happiness, which basically recognizes that there's a superior power that's not Satan, but is God. And God being a loving God that created you in this form, created you so that you could live here, and made it possible that you have certain requirements for survival. Every last one of you have certain requirements for survival. Some of your happiness might vary around a little bit, but for survival, food, clothing, shelter, education, health care is essential. Now, some of you might not need one or two of these things, but food, clothing, and shelter you need. Well, this ties us to being human. And the way for us to access the resources of this earth so that these things for survival can be met is that we have to respond to one another in a kind of way that supports one another. We have to do that. Now, in order to do that in such a way, we have to know what's going on in life. We have to recognize that we ourselves did not create ourselves, that we were made by another power. A power that we can, well, we say our mother and father, but even they were made by someone. So there's a power, that same power that is responsible for the existence of the earth. We can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't feel it, but the evidence of it is here. And for us to be able to recognize what possibly the requirements are for us to be able to maintain, we have to recognize that power. And that power, if we can recognize it, we have to understand that each of us are connected to that power. Each of us. And if I'm here, and you're here, and you're here, and you're here, we are all here by that power. And so we have to respect each other as we think, without a doubt, that that power wants us to be respected. We got to live. We got to survive. We got these same things. You got them, I got them. So how do we do it? Each of us got I've said it 1,000 times, something in us that allows us to contribute to that process. Something in us that we just love to do that gives us our greatest happiness, gives us our greatest reward. And that is that we can engage ourselves in a career of our choosing. Some people call it work. And in the process, what we do is extract from the earth, whether it's on the earth, above the earth, in the earth, seen or unseen. And we do it in such a way that the power that is responsible for our creation works through us, and we are able to meet all of these needs and greater things that we don't even know of at this moment, but things that will come to us as we grow and mature in life. What are we doing? We're respecting that power by respecting one another and guaranteeing to one another that whatever it is that is essential for our living, we're going to make sure none of us are absent it. And nothing's going to interject itself any kind of way that destroys it or takes away from that. And by doing that, our reward is our dreams coming true. Heaven on earth, paradise, peace, prosperity, and joy. But there's another who doesn't want it like that, who wants to be God, who has set himself above all things. And the purpose of it is to create a new kind of world, not the world that makes us all happy, but a world that one can be supreme, who can control everybody and tell people what to do and make people do what they want them to do out of fear. And those who is needed to transact this purpose on earth is rewarded greatly in such a way that the most of us not. But we desire that. We want to be a part of that. And so we'll buy into any kind of lie. And they make sure that they stick the lie up, split it up, so they can tell us one thing on one hand, tell us another thing on the other hand. And what it has done is indoctrinated us with a belief that's different from the belief on the other side. So now we're going at one another, thinking that one way, our way, is a better way than that way, your way. And so we're constantly at each other, while that power that is up there is using us to confuse us, while it implements the powers and things and policies that it wants right out of us, and we don't even know it. All of a sudden, we are not free. We are slaves to that power that is a deceitful one. You know it's deceitful because it separates us. It creates and builds itself on lies and stealing and killing, all of those things. Now, my purpose has been to tell you that where we're living right now, what was designed to be heaven on earth is hell on earth. Let me say it again. Where we're living right now, what was designed to be heaven on earth is hell on earth. Now, we are not going through the persecutions or the atrocities that others that we know of around the world are enduring. We think we're free. We think we're special. We think that God is blessing us. No, my friends, it just hadn't gotten to us yet. It's getting getting to us, and it's going to get to us. But you have a warning. You have people who have been touched by God, who have seen miracles, who know for a fact that there's a power superior to all of this, who comes back and commit their lives to try to wake you up, slap you side your face in love's faith, to wake you up so you can recognize, so that you can see what's going on. Oh, my friends, I'm talking about people who are in communication spiritually with God. I'm not talking about people who are reading a book, people who are reading the Bible. They don't know what they're talking about for the most part. Look, are they telling you the things that I'm telling you now? If they are not, they're working for the devil. They don't know it. All their lives, they've been told, this is the word of God. This is the word that you must believe, and if you believe it, it'll set you free. Are you free? Are you standing up for those who are suffering? Are you standing up for DACA? Are you standing up for the people in the other parts of the world that are being gassed and bombed by your own government? Are you recognizing that something must be done? Is there a power inside of you that says no more? Is there a power inside of you that says before you be an instrument of this, before you be a part of this, you'd rather die standing up for something that's better? Is that part of your thinking? Of course not. Why? Because you don't know anything about this. This stuff you're blinded to. This is why you don't understand what I'm talking about today. This is a foreign language to you. And yet, I must bring it to you because I know for a fact that it's true. And my hope is that by communicating it with you and to you, that somewhere, maybe not too far distant down the road, you will be able to see some signs that will make you give a second thought to what you have been taught. And maybe give it some more thought. And for those of you who smoke weed, when you first start smoking weed, weed is kind of like a key that will kind of unlock your mind from the program, because we all been programmed. That weed will kind of unlock your mind from the program and start you to thinking about things that you never thought about before. They are there to give you some enlightenment. But you got to turn that stuff loose. Because if you don't, it's like taking a drink of alcohol. The more alcohol you drink, the drunker you get. And while you thought you were cool in the beginning, now you all screwed up. So if you don't turn that weed loose, you're going to be all screwed up, and the only thing you're going to be doing is thinking about smoking weed. And when you smoke weed, what do you think about? Eating, having some fun, having some sex. You don't think about what's going on around you. All of a sudden, what you used to think about when you first started smoking weed is gone. You're just drunk with weed. So I'm telling you, those of you out there smoking weed, stop. If you've been smoking weed 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and now they're trying to tell you it's good for your health, it might be good for your health for a minute. But like the aspirin that gives you temporary relief, after a while you'll be addicted. And all you need are aspirin, aspirin, and they will kill you. Like what they call it, fentanyl, something like that. But what I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, is this. There's a power that's God, and it's a loving power. There's a power that's Satan, and it's a hateful power. It is designed to destroy you. And even those who are being used by it, the powers that be, your governors, your mayors, your army, your police, your generals, all of those, they work for Satan. But even they, when Satan does not need them anymore, when does Satan need them anymore? When they got you caught, when they got you in the streets fighting for food, when they got you in the street killing each other because you need something that you can't get. Wow, my friend, ain't that something? Woo! That boy got a plan. I mean, Satan has a plan for humanity. But God got a plan for you too. If you could wake up. Now, for those of us who standing telling you stuff like this, when you start listening, Satan got a plan for us. Satan planned to kill us and wipe us off the map so you can still have no one to talk to. Because you don't know nothing about with God and the Spirit. All you know something is the book. And the book is like the history books that left all the information out about blacks. Didn't tell the blacks anything about their culture, where they came from, the language that they spoke, what religion they had. Left all of that out. So you won't know anything about the true God. And so you'll best have to humble yourself and commit yourself to Satan. Now, if you could wake up, And the people, I'm not talking about government. I'm not talking about the Illuminatis. I'm not talking about those agencies, those secret societies that designed to work against you. But if you, the people, could wake up and start resisting the devil. See, somewhere you heard if you resist the devil, he will flee. You see, because the devil really has no power except the power that you give it. Now, what happens when we're talking about God? God really doesn't do anything unless you use. Let me just put it to you this way. God wants your power. God has power to work miracles. But God is not going around the earth working miracles. God is allowing you to have choice just like the devil. You do the devil's work, you create hell. You do God's work, you create heaven. But every now and then, since the devil seems to be taking control, God will touch somebody and show them a miracle so that they could be that ultimate voice speaking before you. Oh, God is not going to come down here and wipe the slate clean. No. That power is in your hand. You shall reap what you sow. The seed you plant will be the fruit you get. So if you choose Satan, then you're going to get hell. You choose God, and if you choose God, in the midst of all this hell, when you choose God, I'm not talking about believing. I'm not talking about saying, well, I'm going with God. No, I'm talking about when you're willing to give it all you got, to all your power, all your life. When you're willing to give it to God, to stand up for one another, to love one another, to treat one another, and resist anything that would destroy that. God got your back. Because the devil can't do anything. Why? Because you don't have any seeds to plant for the devil. You don't reap nothing but what you give, and that's love. So God's work is done by you waking up. I hope I've done something to stimulate something in you, because it's all true. Believe it or not, it's all true. More next time. Bye-bye.